This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Cubs Postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Joe George here with you on all social media platforms at Joe George Radio as the Cubs lose 12-4 to the Kansas City Royals. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, lots to talk about on today's show. Another poor performance from a bullpen game from the Cubs. Your comments and reactions, overreactions, frustrations are welcome here live on YouTube, again, off any platform on social media at Joe George Radio. So we'll talk about what we saw from the Cubs today. I think a big picture conversation has to be had, honestly, in a game like this. Like, there's not much to really go through besides the fact that the pitching sucked. We'll talk about Crow-Armstrong's injury, what we know, what we're hoping for, and a little bit of Matt Shaw as well there to try to find some positive light in the game. All right, look, so Jameson Taillon's missed, 3 starts now? And this is the third one in which the Cubs pitching staff has been non-competitive. In the YouTube thumbnail today, it says, help wanted, because that's what the Cubs have. Look, the Cubs have one of the best records in baseball, okay? They are really having a great season. There's a lot of really good. Yes, the Brewers have won 10 straight games. As we're live here, that could change if you're listening later on YouTube or audio. Hit subscribe. But the Brewers are playing hot, and they've caught the Cubs in the division. But the biggest frustration with this team is this spot in the rotation, is that they don't have an answer. They don't have someone that can come in and fill the void. You have all these guys who are, you don't have any 4A guys. You don't have any, guys that are really, they're good in AAA, but they're not good in the majors. You don't have any of that. You have no real urgency from Jed Hoyer, it feels like, to make a move right now. I get it. You don't want to overreact and, overpay. You don't want to trade Owen Casey if things are bad, or if things are, to overpay for a certain guy. I get that. I think it's the right decision. I wouldn't trade him anyways. Subject to be had later. But there's just a gap in the Cubs rotation, and it's so obvious in these 3 bullpen games that they have gone out there for the last 3 starts. And you talk about, wanting to win the division, and I hate this, this quote that came from Jed Hoyer about having to be creative, but you've been really good. And look, again, like, just to kind of set the table here, to think about this a little bit, okay? The last time we did a show like this, the Cubs lost 11-0 to the Yankees, and Cody Bellinger hit 3 home runs and should have hit 4. So the Cubs got smoked today in a bullpen game. They won the next 2 games. They won the first 2 games of the Red Sox series. Things can be different. But no matter what happens the rest of the series, the reality is that what's happening right now, this spot in the rotation is not good. It's unsustainable. It's very bad. And you look at these 3 games here, okay? The last 3 against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cubs lose 8-6. Drew Pomeranz is the starter, gives up 2 earned runs. Flexen gives up 1, and Brad Keller comes in later in the game and gives up 5 earned runs. The bullpen game against the Yankees, they lost 11-0. Flexen gives up 3. Thielbar gives up 2. Jordan Wicks gives up 6. In this one, the Cubs lose 12-4. Ben Brown gives up 6 earned runs, and Chris Flexen gives up 5. And the Cubs lose 12-4. So 3-game sample size, of which it's terrible. It's brutal for this spot in the rotation. Jameson Taillon was not having the best season. No doubt about that. Up and down moments, some really good, some really awful for him. But the Cubs have nobody. And we talked about this in the last show, the 11-0 loss against the Yankees. The Cubs don't have anyone in their farm system right now. This isn't just a money problem. This is a farm system problem where I'm just going to get on my soapbox here and be like, you have nobody that you can call up and say they need to go out there and give you 5 innings of 4 earned runs. 5 innings. That's all you need. 5 innings, 4 earned runs allowed. And the Cubs offense can win you games. They scored 4 runs in this game. It should be enough, right? The St. Louis Cardinals game that you lost 8-6. You scored 6 runs. That's enough. But your bullpen games, they stink. There's no other way to put it. They absolutely stink. The Yankees game, you lost 11-0. Your offense didn't do nothing in that game. But the Cubs have a huge black hole in their pitching rotation. And no matter what it is, like, yes, is this going to be the reason why the Cubs can't win a World Series? Absolutely not. Ben Brown, if he was the everyday fifth starter, would not be in the playoff rotation. He would be off the roster, wouldn't be a factor, means nothing at all to this team in terms of the playoff success. But in terms of keeping the Brewers at length, chasing the best record in the National League, all these things that you're trying to accomplish and do, you cannot do with this spot in the rotation. There's nothing. And this is a great question from Jay here in the chat. Whose fault is it that there's no pitching in the farm system? Jed Hoyer in the scouts. 100%. You can be mad at ownership. I agree. They don't spend money. They don't in the way they should. It doesn't, like, even when the Cubs are winning, like, that frustration for me never goes away. I want that to always be clear. But, like, you have front office ownership who's not spending big money, like LA and Houston and New York, both franchises are doing. You have minimalistic signings that some have worked out great. Like you can't deny what Matthew Boyd has done. What, for the most part, what Chris Flexen has done, what Drew Pomerantz has done. These little things that have happened. You can't deny those things. But to have nobody in your organization that can step in over a 15-game stretch to fill this gap in the rotation is frustrating. And it's honestly, to me, I think it's unacceptable. Because when you look at where baseball is today, with all the Tommy John injuries and everything that's happened, all these teams in baseball are losing 1 to 2 guys with major injuries. Tommy John, the Cubs lost Justin Steele. Losing Steele and losing Tyon is brutal. But you have nobody that can fill this gap right now. Nobody. That's the problem at the moment the Cubs are facing with this one spot. Again, I'm very optimistic about where the Cubs are going. I think the people that are like, every game live and die, the Cubs stink, they're awesome. I don't do that. I think big picture. But as Anthony says here in the chat, it's time to make a trade. Yes, it does. And the thing is, where I want to go with this, with what Anthony's saying, is it doesn't even have to be the big trade. It doesn't have to be Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly or one of these guys. You need a body. That's what the Cubs need. They need a body. They need an arm to come up and be able to pitch every fifth day. Because let's say on the super pessimistic side, these 3 games that we're talking about here, tonight, the Yankees game and the Cardinals game, you win one of those games because you get a serviceable start from your starter that can go 5 innings, to where your bullpen can be excellent as they've been this year. One guy that can make that start, one win, you're in first place. Again, we're live right now. The Mariners game versus the Brewers is happening as we talk. So maybe, the Cubs are still in first place. And again, they could be back in first place by the end of the series. No problem with that. They might win the next 2 games. I think they will win the next 2 games of the series. But this game, this show is the problem is the 5th guy in the rotation. And again, it's not a focus on, it's not an issue later in the postseason. They don't need that guy, but they need it now. This is not sustainable. These guys in these roles, whether it's Flexen or Keller or Pomerantz, who have had great seasons, are not succeeding in bullpen roles. And again, that's what we saw today. And look, it's no offense to Ben Brown, but he just doesn't have it right now. I think there's still a chance that he can, make an impact for the Cubs at some point down the road. But the reality is that he was getting shelled before he got sent down. He comes back up, and gets shelled in this game. And it's just frankly, it's just not good enough. You have to make a move, I think quickly, because just the reality is you do not have an answer in your organization from your big league roster to your minor league roster because of the injuries. The YouTube here brings up Javier Assad. I think that's a totally fair point. You've really lost 3 pitchers this year. Javier will be back at some point in August, but you don't have enough. And the Cubs need to add, because that's the reason why you lost this game, is because Ben Brown, he can't get the job done. It's just the reality. He's not getting the job done. It doesn't mean that it's like that forever, but the Cubs pitching staff is really good. Again, if you look at the month of July, they had, going into at least today's game, or at least into Sunday's game, they had the 2nd best ERA in all of Major League Baseball in July. for starters. Number 1 was the Red Sox, who you beat 2 out of 3. Number 2 was the Cubs. Okay, so the bullpen, the starters have been good, but these bullpen games, they're not winnable with the way the guys are pitching right now. There's just, when the bullpen guys are out of their spot, it's what you saw today, a 12-4 loss. Should have been enough, honestly, for the Cubs against the Royals, and it's just not. So we'll take a break. We'll get to your comments here in the YouTube section. We'll talk quickly about PCA, what we know, what we're hoping for his injury. Matt Shaw hitting a 3-run bomb in this game. Positive stuff from him for sure coming out of the break. We'll get into all that next here on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Sorry. Today's show is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always be talking to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it even a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting summer on the beach. It's easy to use, fast payout, super important. It makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can get bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, quick note here before we continue the show. A launch date is TBD. Maybe Friday at the earliest. But Sam Olber, myself, Lauren from the Locked On Bears channel, we will also be starting a weekly 1-hour show, or twice a week 1-hour show on the Locked On Bears YouTube channel. I'll be doing post-game shows for the Bears, Notre Dame, and for the Bulls, Notre Dame as well. So we'll be starting that show coming up here, I think, as early as Friday, if not next week. Sam, myself, Lauren, and one other person. So make sure you head over to Locked On Bears as well. All right, back to the game today. So let's talk about PCA here. A knee bruise. Craig Counsell said it happened on the slide. Before the game, he said hopeful he could play tomorrow, or maybe he could play tomorrow. So hopefully it's nothing of concern for him. Look, if it's really just, like, I'm always a little skeptical of injury stuff from teams. Like, it doesn't matter the sport, football, baseball, basketball, whatever. Always a little skeptical, a little bit of a pessimist side of me. But let's say they're being honest. PCA's back in the lineup, no big deal. So fingers crossed, that's all it is. Seiya Suzuki out in center field today. It was strange to see that lineup without really like news coming out beforehand of what was going on with PCA. But hopefully he's back tomorrow for the Cubs, and they can try to win this series 2 out of 3. Win the next 2 games. Again, we'll all be feeling much better after today's loss. Hopefully it's very similar again, like what we saw in the Yankees series, where bullpen game disaster. Matthew Boyd, Colin Ray. I think it's Colin Ray on Wednesday. They were saying TBD on the broadcast. I don't see that on ESPN or anything, but hopefully the Cubs can be out there and find a way. Because look, the reality is, this also goes back to, again, what we were just talking about in the first majority of the show today, is that the Brewers are unreal right now. Like, there's no denying it. The Brewers are playing incredible baseball. The Cubs are playing really good baseball. The Brewers are playing the best baseball in all of MLB. And there's a reality that, again, this show is live. So by the time you're listening to it, the Cubs are in second place in the NL Central. Now, it's one game. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world or anything like that. But, you know, this is where, again, where you look at these 3 games, this 3-game sample size of what the Cubs are doing in these bullpen games. And you can say that's the reason why the Cubs are not in first place. This is the truth. Like, you took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. You take 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. Yes, you lose this first game. If you win the next 2 games, you won 3 straight series. And still the reality is you might not be in first place in your division because of how well the Brewers are playing right now. And again, I think that adds to the urgency of what the Cubs are needing to do. Again, I said this earlier, not to, keep saying the same thing. I don't want the Cubs to overpay for a starting pitcher right now, but they need help. Like, these games are frustrating. And mainly because they're non-competitive. Like they're not competitive games. I guess that Cardinals game that was 8-6, but like, you've lost 3 games with these bullpen games. So they have to find a way to solve this problem quickly, whether it's, by a hope and a prayer for Javier Assad, but you're waiting until August for him, or just, finding a way to get something from your minor league system. Honestly, I don't even know who it would be. But I'm assuming the Cubs are not going to make a trade at this point before the next bullpen game arrives. I'd really like to see Ben Brown sent down and another minor league pitcher called up, just because, like, maybe he's got a chance. Like maybe against the White Sox, like, whatever player has a shot to do well in that series instead of what you've just been doing. So the only real positive from this game, besides hopefully, again, fingers crossed, PCA's injury is really not that serious right now for the Cubs. But Matt Shaw is the only other positive from this game. A 3-run homer, a homer there in the 9th inning. I mean, a hit in the 9th inning. So 2-hit game for him. And again, I don't think it's going to stop the Cubs, but from adding a third baseman at the deadline. But in the big picture part of this, what Matt Shaw is doing at the plate is very positive. These 4 games coming out of the break, that's all good. Like, I'm all good. Like, that's all positive, and hopefully that can be some level of success from Matt Shaw here going forward. Let's see. Kevin asks, what would constitute an overpay in my opinion? Owen Casey ? I think it's like trading him for Keller is kind of the way. Like, and I don't want to see him get traded for a player that's not under club control for at least 2 more seasons. I think that's important. Like, I wouldn't trade him for a rental. I wouldn't trade Ballesteros for a rental. So I think that to me is where what an overpay is finding a way to add someone to this team that can help you, but not giving up a prospect with what seems like a bright future for a rental. You've already done that once with Cam Smith and Kyle Tucker. Don't hate the trade. Still really like it for the Cubs. I just don't think I would do it again here. All right, that will do it for us here on the Locked on Cubs postcast. We'll be back tomorrow after game 2 of this series. So thank you for watching. Remember, hit that subscribe button to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Peace.